When you think of strength in Jujutsu Kaisen, our minds naturally gravitate towards formidable figures like Gojo, Sukuna, Yuta Hakari, and Maki. Jujutsu Kaisen, with its great storytelling, strives to vividly showcase the power dynamics within its universe. This is evident through explicit statements of strength for characters like Gojo and Sukuna, as well as the impressive displays of power by characters such as Yuta and Maki. Yet, amidst the well-established powerhouses, JJK often surprises its audience with unexpected bursts of strength precisely when needed. These moments of revelation stem from various sources, be it the unveiling of newfound abilities through rigorous training or the swift maneuvers and black flashes. Anime fans revel in these instances as they inject a fresh wave of excitement, either reaffirming the might of a beloved character or unveiling the late strength of an unexpected hero. Today, our focus shifts to a character who has long dwelled in the shadows of his more accomplished peers. Finally emerging from the sideline, he seizes the spotlight at the most crucial juncture, none other than Yuji Itadori. In this video, we will uncover the layers of strength that make Yuji a force to be acknowledged, shedding light on his journey from the overshadowed contender to a pivotal player in the grand events of Jujutsu Kaisen. Since the beginning of the series, Yuji has been shown to be a ragtag kid with ungodly amount of athletic ability. Even as early as chapter 1, we see him able to do a hammer throw as if it was a baseball. But Yuji's life would take a complete 180 after finding one of Sukuna's fingers. A while after that, he would be greeted by no other than Megumi Fushiguro, as he explained that the thing that he found was actually a special great curse object. When asked to give it up, Yuji would realize that he actually lost the finger. In Megumi's frantic pursuit, he would find a cursed spirit with the object inside of it. After defeating the curse and retrieving the finger back, he would then be met with another curse, which would need the combined effort of Megumi and Yuji. With their backs against the wall, Yuji would do the unthinkable and eat the finger, which begins the true story of Yuji Itadori. Since the beginning of the story, Yuji has been overshadowed by his close friend Megumi when talks about potential have been brought up. This has even been mentioned by the likes of Gojo when said, "Megumi, your skill and potential are probably higher than Yuji's." Being given this information, it's important to realize that Yuji will have to work harder among his peers to be able to keep up. Back in chapter 6 is when we get our first glimpse of Yuji's fighting ability when he's put up against a finger bearer. Yuji shows his ignorance after he tries to attack the finger bearer, shortly getting his hand chopped off. Yuji realizes this and fears for his death. Yuji gives it one last shot and fails yet again, and then that's when Sukuna comes in to save the day. After these events, Yuji is set off to go train with Gojo. During this training, Yuji just basically learns how to control his curse energy. Now, the training arc's pretty short, but we actually have a reason given by Gege Atakami herself. Now, the statement says this: Katayama once said that if you're going to do a training arc, you should either give it everything you got or not do it at all. Following this advice, I decided not to do one at all. Consider that I didn't intend to improve Itadori's battle score that much at the time. I figured that having him grow stronger through many defeats would be more convincing enough for the readers, even though he didn't have a training arc. The next fight we get to see of Yuji is actually his fight against Mahito. We actually get an impressive display of strength as Yuji's able to punch Mahito in the face. Here's when we get to see one of Yuji's most impressive abilities, his ability to actually punch the soul itself. Yuji continues the fight, being able to basically brawl and beat up Mahito pretty badly, dodging multiple attacks as well as cutting off any counter attacks from Mahito. After Nanami joins the fight, they continue to brawl and destroy Nanami until he's forced to pull out his domain. But the domain is cut short, not being able to do anything after Sukuna comes out and hints at when to cleave, dismantling the domain. Mahito, being angered, said he's gonna go all out, but this attempt is cut short again after Yuji uses Divergent Fist and he flees away. At this point in the series, Yuji should be about relative to Nanami as well as holding back Mahito, as they make it pretty obvious that Nanami and Yuji would have died if he was able to get his domain off. We actually get a turning point in Yuji as he says, "I still don't know what it means to die naturally until I do, and until I kill that thing, I won't lose to anything." Mahito gives Yuji an even greater reason to become stronger, and we'll see this throughout the series. Stepping into the Goodwill arc, we get our next fight with Yuji when he's put up against Todo. Yuji gets pretty good feats in this fight, being able to start out the fight by kneeing Todo right in the face. Todo strikes back quickly, being able to punch Yuji through multiple trees. Yuji even states that if the curse wasn't in the way, it would have been a lot worse. Yuji is then surrounded by Mekamaru, Mei, Miwa, and Kamo and is able to dodge all their attacks pretty easily. But this would be cut shortly after Todo demanded a 1v1. Todo and Yuji continue the fight and are pretty relative, with even Todo stating that he's stronger than himself, and even helps him when stating that his Divergent Fist is holding him back. Yuji gets progressively stronger throughout the fight as Todo is teaching him how to use his curse energy, but Yuji should be weaker than this Todo, stated by Todo himself. The fight is cut short again after Yuji and Todo have to go fight Hanami. Once Yuji figures out that Hanami is a part of the same group as Mahito, he's sent into a rage and actually is able to get a kickoff on Hanami. Hanami also states that Yuji is actually more agile than the girl, and this is in reference to Maki, but also follows up by saying his strength is disappointing. So at this point in the series, Yuji should be faster than Maki. But after this is when we're presented to Yuji's strongest ability, that being Black Flash. But I would like to make a side note that Yuji cannot use Black Flash on command, but is better at using it than other characters in the series. We actually do get a brief explanation of what Black Flash is. It says, when an impact of curse energy is applied within 0.000001 seconds of a physical hit, a distortion in space is born. The impact is equal to a normal hit to the power of 2.5. There is not a single Jujutsu sorcerer who can use it at will. It also says this, however, for those who have experienced Black Flash as compared to those who have not, their understanding of the essence of curse energy is immeasurable. Now this is important because this is basically a humongous amp, because now it's stating that Yuji has a better understanding of curse energy, which is what he was lacking in previous fights. Todo backs up the idea of Yuji getting strong in this moment when he says, but with Black Flash, you've gained the ingredients that is curse energy as a chef, or in this case, a Jujutsu sorcerer. You're on a different level than you were just 3 seconds ago. Hanami also just basically says that Yuji and Todo are stronger than everyone else when he says that there's something different about these two compared to the rest. Noticing the difference between Todo and Yuji compared to the rest, Hanami decides to go all out. Hanami is also a lot stronger after this moment as she fully realizes herself and starts having fun in this fight. But this wouldn't matter at all because she had no way to counteract Boogie Woogie. After Yuji goes in for a second Black Flash, we get a flashback from Nanami explaining what it means to consecutively use Black Flash. This explanation is pretty long, so bear with me, but it's important to fully understand what's going on. He says this, using Black Flash consecutively isn't amazing. Using it more than twice would be difficult to do consecutively or on the same day. And it doesn't matter if the first time was done out of pure luck or skill. When successfully using Black Flash, Jujutsu sorcerers are in a zone similar to what athletes experience. The typical thought process of manipulating curse energy becomes like breathing. How should I put it? It's like that feeling that you're the center that everything else revolves around. Now, what this means for Yuji is Yuji no longer has to put all of his effort or a majority of his effort into concentrating his curse energy, as he can now more focus on his technique and fighting. Nanami is also saying that once you do one Black Flash, it gets a lot easier from there. It would be a lot harder as opposed to doing it one day and then doing it the next. Yuji goes on to do something we've never seen in this series before, hit 5 consecutive Black Flashes, which is actually the world record previously held by Nanami himself, that being 4. But unfortunately, Todo and Yuji did not have the power to defeat Hanami because of just her extreme amount of durability. Gojo actually has to intervene with his domain expansion after Hanami charges up his flower attack. I think now's a good time to step back and just realize how much Yuji has accomplished in such a short amount of time. Only a couple weeks ago, Yuji had no real control of his curse energy and was losing to finger bearers early in the series. Now he's keeping up with the likes of special grade curses like Nanami and Mahito, as well as Todo himself. Not to mention, after hitting the Black Flash, he has a extremely better understanding of his own curse energy now. When Gojo arrives, he also notices Yuji's increase in strength and even says that he should be able to keep up with the special grade now. Now, Yuji does fight Ketsusu and Eso soon after this, but I actually won't be going over that as Yuji was very injured after his previous fight. The next time we see Yuji in battle is when he runs into Choso in the Shibuya incident. Choso starts off the fight by shooting a piercing blood at Yuji, but Yuji's able to block it and then divert it out of his way. But after that first attack, Yuji mentions that he's unable to use his right arm anymore, leaving him at a huge disadvantage in this fight. After this, Yuji's able to dodge a piercing blood using his intelligence alone, but then gets outmaneuvered by Choso getting hit in the back, followed up by getting tagged in the face multiple times. Yuji shows off his durability after taking a slightly weaker piercing blood right to the stomach, once again getting praised by his opponent when Choso calls him strong. Yuji then tricks Choso, luring him to a bathroom, forcing him to do close hand-to-hand combat. Being pushed in a corner, Choso decides to use Flowing Red Skull stack and making himself even stronger. Yuji's plan works and he's able to beat Choso in close quarter combat, but then is caught off guard when Choso hides a piercing blood in his hand hand and shoots it in Yuji's liver. Choso also mentions that the attack wouldn't have even pierced him if he was aware of the attack. Choso seems defeated after getting hit by Yuji only 3 times and suffering so much damage. The fight keeps up and they continue to remain pretty relative. Yuji devises a plan to only use his left arm so he can make an opening and use his right to do a sneak attack. The plan works but fails because Choso actually put heart and blood on the side of his body to block the attack. Choso then destroys Yuji's shoulder and punches him into a wall. Yuji lucks out after Choso gets a fake memory of Yuji being his brother, virtually keeping him alive. After Sukuna takes over his body, doing all the theatrics, healing Yuji in the process, Yuji sees Mahito kill Nanami, setting off the next fight. The fight starts off pretty relative until Mahito appears out of one of the mouths of his curses and punches Yuji in the face. Mahito mentions that he won't be able to use idle transfiguration on Yuji, making this fight a lot harder for Mahito. Yuji shows off his new fighting technique, Taito martial arts, and is able to sweep kick Mahito, then kicking him in the head. Mahito also says something interesting, saying that if he messes up one of his dodges against Yuji, he could easily end up dead. Mahito then flees and comes up with a new plan to fight Yuji and Obara at the same time. And again, I won't be going into this fight because Mahito is split and isn't at full strength when the real fight starts again, Mahito starts off the fight with a black flash, following it up by kicking Yuji into the wall. Right before Mahito is going to kill Yuji, Todo appears, reuniting the legendary duo once again. Unfortunately, Yuji falls into a depression after being reminded of how many people he's killed by Mahito, but is quickly reminded of his true self by Todo, then being able to land a black flash once again. At this point in the fight, they're also all stated to be at 120% potential because of the black flashes that they all have used. It's also important to keep in mind that Yuji is the only one that can hit Mahito because he's the only one that can see his soul. Mahito splits his body into 2, having one being 80% of his cursed energy and the other being 20%. This is really impressive for Yuji because we get a small panel of the 2 fighting, and Yuji's the one keeping up with the 80% one, while Todo's keeping up with the 20%. After Mahito's failed attempts of trying to separate Todo and Yuji, he decides to use his domain. After being able to pull off a 0.2 second domain, we get an interesting statement saying that Yuji was even faster than Todo. After Todo and Yuji gets hit with the domain, Mahito goes after Todo, being able to cut off his hands. Now you can make a case that Mahito thinks Todo is stronger than Yuji because he went to go after him first, but it's important to realize that 1, Mahito thinks that Todo's ability is very annoying, and 2, Mahito wants to have a one-on-one with Yuji. After Todo's put out of commission, we go back to Yuji and Mahito 1v1, but during this phase of the fight, Mahito finally understands the true essence of his soul, gaining the form instant spirit body of distorted killing. Mahito's able to finally obtain this form after hitting a black flash and truly understanding his cursed energy. Now this form of Mahito is not only more durable, but should be stronger and faster as stated in the manga. Now I think we deserve to give Yuji some praise on just how good he is at using black flash. We get a statement saying that there is not a single Jujutsu sorcerer who can use black flash at will. However, in this fight, Itadori is so amazing that he makes you think that's what he's doing. Yuji boasts his intelligence again once he totally dismantles Mahito's plan by taking advantage of the weakness of Divergent Fist. Todo comes clutch once again after faking a boogie woogie, followed up by Yuji hitting him with his final and last black flash, giving an introduction to Yuji's best speech in the series. Now, even though Yuji has done all these amazing things, I think it's important to realize that base Yuji himself cannot actually do all these accomplishments without hitting a black flash first. Nonetheless, this Yuji should be way stronger than Todo and stronger than Mahito himself. Later on, we see Yuji and Choso reunite, and during this interaction, we get another indicator of how strong Yuji has become. He says that Yuji has added finesse and fluid control of his cursed energy along with his unreal physical strength, even adding that he sees him as a demon god now. Now, I don't really understand what that means exactly, but I think that the thing we can take from it is that he's just gotten stronger. After this conversation, we get introduced to Naoya, where he goes and basically just blitzes Yuji and Choso. This kind of gives us a reminder of how far Yuji still has to come. We get interrupted again as we see Yuta appear. We're told that Yuta is actually here to kill Yuji. Yuta tries to rush Yuji, but Yuji's able to dodge it, even surprising Yuta himself. Yuji's actually able to go relative with Yuta for a while until Yuta stops playing around and pulls out Rika and just stops him. We are reminded of Yuji's inexperience again when Yuta critiques Yuji on his fighting ability. Later in the series is when we see Yuji's biggest hero moment, when he has to play a pivotal role in the taking down of Sukuna. Just as an important note, we should realize that Sukuna isn't going all out, but we can compare his performance to the people around him. To start off, Yuji's able to tank multiple cleaves and dismantles, the same cleave and dismantles we've seen take out multiple characters in the series. Not only that, we see Yuji be able to do one of the strongest techniques in the series, that being reverse curse technique. Reverse curse technique, also known as RCT, is just the ability to be able to heal yourself or others. Now, this is really impressive for Yuji because one of Yuji's greatest strength is his ability to be able to tank multiple moves. Now paired with RCT kind of makes him an unstoppable force at a certain point. Now this gets a lot interesting after Yuta joins the fight, making it Yuji and Yuta versus Sukuna. Now to put this into perspective, Yuta's domain is one of the last contingency plans to destroy Sukuna, and Yuji, surprisingly enough, actually plays the biggest role in this plan. As I said earlier in the video, we know Yuji has the ability to see the soul and attack it directly, as well as Megumi's soul fighting it back against Sukuna's, making him weaker. It should also be pretty obvious at this point that Yuta will not be able to defeat Sukuna at his full strength. Given this information, I think that people should be able to agree that without Yuji weakening Sukuna, Yuta would have no chance in this fight at all. Now I'm pretty sure somebody's saying that, oh, Maki's actually the contingency plan, as they need her to attack Sukuna while he isn't looking. But you have to realize that 1, Yuta would have died a long time ago or even immediately, stated by Sukuna himself, totally destroying the plan. And 2, Yuji opens up the possibility of actually just killing Sukuna right there with Yuta's domain. Now the reason I made this video is because of the absolute lack of understanding that people have for Yuji and his pivotal role in the series itself. So now I hope after everything you've heard, you understand that Yuji started off in this series as just a boy with ungodly athletic ability and is now saving the earth from the society threatening Sukuna.